If AI takes your job, don't let it take your purpose. If your job disappeared next month, who would you be? That's not a small question. For a lot of people, work is not just how they pay rent. It's structure, it's identity, it's pride, it's the answer to what do you do? So when people talk about AI taking jobs, what they're really threatening is not only money, they're threatening meaning, they're threatening self-respect, they're threatening the quiet story a person tells himself about why his life matters. And that's why this subject hurts so much. Today we're going to talk about how to face that fear without falling apart. And we're going to do it with help from Immanuel Kant. Not in a dry schoolbook way, in a very human way, because Kant has one big idea that matters right now. Your worth is deeper than your usefulness. That idea can help a lot when the world starts treating people like replaceable tools. One, the first wound is not always money. Sometimes it's dignity. When people imagine losing work to AI, they often picture the practical problems first. Bills, rent, food, debt, and those things matter a lot. But there's another wound that often hits at the same time. It's the feeling that your place in the world is shrinking. You may start thinking, if the machine can do what I do, then what am I? Was I only useful for output? Was I only valuable? I was productive. That's where this becomes more than economics. It becomes spiritual. It becomes personal. It becomes painful. Kant would want us to slow down right here, because one of his deepest ideas is that a human being is not just a thing to be used. He writes that man is an end in himself. That means you're not merely a tool, not a widget, not a line item, not a task machine, not something whose whole value is decided by market demand. That matters, especially now, because once a person starts believing my only worth is what I produce, fear gets very easy to sell to him. But if your worth is deeper than your output, then even a shaken career doesn't erase you. It only changes the battlefield. 2, your job can be taken. Your inner law can't. Kant has one of the most beautiful lines in philosophy. He says there are 2 things that fill him with awe: the starry heavens above and the moral law within. That line matters. It tells us where he thinks human greatness really lives. Not in status, not in applause, not in job titles, not even in comfort, but in the inner part of a person that can still choose what's right. That part of you matters a lot in a world full of disruption, because if AI changes the economy, it may change your role, it may change your income, it may change your plans, but it can't decide whether you're honest. It can't decide whether you become bitter or brave. It can't decide whether you treat yourself like trash or like a human being who still has a future. It can't decide whether you'll keep faith with your own character. That's still yours. And when life gets unstable, that inner ground matters even more. You may not be able to control the whole economy, but you can still decide how you speak, how you act, how you care for people, whether you keep your promises, whether you tell the truth, whether you live with self-respect. That's not fake comfort. That's real power. 3, don't confuse usefulness with purpose. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make. They take usefulness and purpose and mash them together as if they're the same thing. They're not. Usefulness changes all the time. A person can be useful in one industry, then not useful in the same way 5 years later. A skill can be valuable now and less valuable later. A company can love what you do 1 year and automate half of it the next. That's usefulness. It moves. Purpose is deeper. Purpose is about what kind of person you're trying to be and what kind of life you're trying to build. Maybe your purpose is to bring steadiness into chaos. Maybe it's to make life easier for others. Maybe it's to teach. Maybe it's to create beauty. Maybe it's to protect your family. Maybe it's to help people think clearly. Maybe it's to live with decency even when the world gets weird. Those things can survive a job change. They may have to take a new form, but they don't vanish just because one role vanishes. This is huge. If your whole purpose is tied to one job title, then any market shock feels like the death of the self. But if your purpose is larger than your current role, then change becomes painful. Yes, but not final. It becomes redirection. 4, when the big meaning breaks, start with small duties. This is where Kant becomes unexpectedly practical. He has another famous line. Duty, thou sublime and mighty name. That sounds dramatic. But the heart of it's simple. When life becomes chaotic, duty can steady you. Not duty in the boring sense. Not be a work robot. I mean the next right thing. The small thing you can do with self-respect today. When people lose work or fear losing work, they often become mentally flooded. They doom scroll. They freeze. They panic. They spin in giant questions. What's the future of all labor? Will humans even matter? What if everything changes? Those are real questions, but they're too big to live inside all day. So come down one level. Ask, what's my duty today? That could mean update your resume. Honestly learn one small tool without worshipping it. Exercise for 20 minutes, call somebody. Instead of isolating, cook a decent meal. Apply for 2 roles, carefully help one person. Clean one room, rest without guilt. Small duties sound humble. That's why they work. They pull a person out of fog. They rebuild self-trust. And self-trust is often the first thing job anxiety destroys. 5, screens can simulate life. They can't replace lived reality. There's another danger in the AI age. It's not only that people may lose work, it's that they may retreat into screens and simulations when they feel scared. If the future feels unstable, the screen offers instant escape, endless advice, endless predictions, endless noise, endless fake certainty. But a person can't build a meaningful life out of watching possibilities all day. At some point, you've to return to reality, to your room, your body, your relationships, your habits, your neighborhood, your own hands. This matters because purpose doesn't usually arrive as a dramatic revelation. It grows out of lived contact with the real world, real effort, real conversation, real disappointment, real service, real patience, real beauty, real responsibility. If your work life gets shaken, don't disappear into digital weather. Come back to the tangible world. Walk outside. Touch grass honestly. Talk to a real person. Help somebody. Make something with your hands. Read a physical book. Sit under the sky for 10 minutes and let your nervous system remember that not everything is an app. That's not childish. It's medicine. 6, you still need structure even if your old structure collapses. One hidden gift of employment is structure. Even when people complain about work, work gives shape to the week. Wake up, go somewhere, talk to people, solve problems, come home. Without structure, a lot of people don't just lose income, they lose rhythm. And when rhythm goes, mood often goes with it. So if AI uncertainty has thrown your future into doubt, build structure on purpose. Not prison, structure. Simple things like waking up at roughly the same time, giving your mornings a shape, separating work time from worry time, scheduling movement, scheduling learning, scheduling recovery, scheduling real human contact. Don't wait for life to organize you. Organize yourself gently. That creates dignity. And dignity matters. Kant would never tell you that a good life is just about feeling good. He would tell you it's also about governing yourself well. That becomes even more important when the outside world feels unstable. 7, use AI, but don't kneel before it. This is another part that matters. I don't think the healthy answer is denial. It's not wise to pretend AI is nothing. But it's also not wise to treat it like a god. Use tools. Don't worship tools. Learn what can help you. Test what saves time. Stay curious, but keep your head. A machine may help you write faster, sort data faster, draft faster, summarize faster. Fine, but it can't live your life for you. It can't suffer for you. It can't love for you. It can't choose with conscience for you. It can't become your character. It can't replace the whole mystery and responsibility of being a human being. That means your future is not simply, will the machine do more? It's also, what kind of human will I be? The machine does more. That's a more serious question. And a more hopeful one. 8. A purposeful life may become smaller before it becomes clearer. This part is important, especially if someone is hurting right now. When people lose work or fear losing work, they often imagine that the new meaningful life has to show up quickly and look impressive. But sometimes the next good life begins in a much smaller way. Smaller income, smaller plans, smaller routines, smaller circles, smaller days. That's not failure. Sometimes it's repair. Sometimes a person has to rebuild quietly before he can rebuild publicly. Sometimes purpose returns through very ordinary things. Taking care of your body, being useful to one person, learning patiently, becoming less panicked, staying morally awake, refusing to become cynical. That last one matters. Because when people feel discarded, cynicism starts to look smart. But cynicism is often just wounded, pride wearing armor. Don't let pain turn you into someone you don't respect. Hold on to your humanity. Hold on to your decency. Hold on to your inward law. That's part of purpose too. 9. If your old purpose dies, let a deeper one speak. So let's come back to the big fear. What if your main source of purpose disappears? What if the work that shaped your identity is no longer there in the same way? Then grieve it. Honestly, don't fake being okay. Don't force positivity. Don't act like loss is not loss. But after grief, ask a deeper question. What was I really seeking through that work? Respect, contribution, mastery, security, beauty, service, connection, order. If you can name the deeper thing, then you've not lost everything. You've lost one road to it. Now you must find another. That's painful, yes, but it's also the beginning of wisdom. Because a person who learns how to live by deeper purpose becomes much harder to destroy. Closing. If AI changes your job, let it be painful. Let it be real. But don't let it convince you that you're nothing without a role. You're more than your market price. You're more than your last employer. You're more than your current usefulness. Can't believe there's something in a human being that stands above mere machinery and appetite. Something inward, something worthy, something that can still choose the good when the world gets confusing. Hold on to that. Build from that. And if your old source of meaning disappears, begin again with smaller duties, steadier habits, real human contact, and a deeper idea of what a life is for. The future may get stranger, but strangeness is not the end of purpose. Sometimes it's the moment purpose becomes serious. If this helped, subscribe and share it with someone whose work anxiety is starting to become life anxiety.